Once, long ago, in a land of shimmering mountains and great winding rivers, there lived a mighty king. His kingdom was vast, his power absolute. His palace, a breathtaking spectacle of marble and gold, reflected the sun's glory, but the king's heart was a fortress of stone. He was known throughout the land as the King of Justice. Yet, his justice was not born of mercy, but forged in the cold fires of fear. He ruled with an iron fist, his laws as unyielding as the mountains themselves. The people respected him, their heads bowed low in his presence, but in their hearts there was no love, only a chilling reverence. One crisp morning, the clatter of hooves echoed through the cobblestone streets as the king rode with his royal guards. His procession was a display of power, meant to inspire awe and obedience. As they passed an ancient, weather-worn temple, a sight 1,000 times seen and ignored, his gaze fell upon a figure huddled at the gate. It was an old, blind beggar, his face a roadmap of hardship. His clothes were little more than rags, his eyes milky white, clouded by the passage of countless sightless years. In his hands he held a cracked clay bowl, an empty symbol of his daily struggle. As the king's magnificent steed, a creature of pride and strength, came to a halt near him, the beggar lifted his face, drawn by the sound. In a voice that was frail yet clear, he spoke, "O rider, your horse walks with the heavy tread of a man of great riches. If your eyes are closed to my suffering, I pray that God may one day grant you sight." The king, unaccustomed to such directness, frowned, his brow furrowing in displeasure. "Do you not know to whom you speak?" he boomed, his voice laced with authority. "I am the king of this land." A faint, knowing smile touched the beggar's lips. Blind he may have been, but his perception pierced through the veils of status and power that blinded others. "King or beggar," he said softly, "we both will find our final rest beneath the same earth. The only true difference between us is this: one has lost his sight, while the other has lost his heart." The words struck the king with the force of a physical blow. They were not an insult, but a truth so profound it bypassed his defenses and pierced his very soul. Something long dormant stirred within him, a feeling he had buried under years of cold, hard rule. In that moment, the marble and gold of his life felt fragile, meaningless. He swung his leg over his horse and dismounted, his heavy royal boots landing softly on the dusty ground. He walked towards the old man, his guards watching in stunned silence. "Tell me," he said, his voice now quiet, stripped of its usual command, "who was it that blinded you?" The beggar let out a long, weary sigh, a sound that carried the weight of a lifetime of sorrow. "It was not fate that stole my sight," he explained, "but injustice. Years ago, one of the king's own soldiers, in a fit of baseless anger, took the life of my only son. He was the light of my world. When I, a broken father, went to the palace seeking justice, I was not heard. I was beaten and cast out like refuse. It was on that day I lost my sight, not from the soldier's blows, but from the crushing weight of my grief." The king's breath hitched in his throat. The story was a chilling echo from a past he had tried to forget. What was the king's name at that time?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper, dread coiling in his stomach. The beggar replied softly, his voice devoid of anger, filled only with a deep, resonant sadness. His name was Riazudin. The king's hands began to tremble. The world around him seemed to fade, the sounds of the city muffled. He felt as if he were falling through time, back to a moment of careless cruelty he had long since dismissed. I am Riazudin," he confessed, the words tasting like ash in his mouth. A profound silence descended upon the street. It was as if the wind itself held its breath, waiting. The guards, the onlookers, the very stones of the temple seemed to listen to the weight of this confession. Then, in an act that shattered every protocol of his kingdom, King Riazudin knelt before the blind beggar. His magnificent crown, the symbol of his unshakable authority, slipped from his head and clattered onto the ground, forgotten. "I took your son," the king choked out, his voice thick with unshed tears. "I destroyed your light. I have lived all these years cloaked in the mantle of justice, but I see now. I was the one who was truly blind." The beggar did not recoil. Instead, he reached out a trembling hand, his calloused fingers gently touching the king's tear-streaked face. It was a touch of forgiveness, of understanding. "If you truly repent," he said, his voice a soothing balm on the king's wounded soul. Then do not seek to return my sight. Instead, return humanity to your world. Oh, that no other mother will lose her son, as I did. Let no poor man's cry for help go unheard in your kingdom. King Riazudin rose to his feet, a changed man. The tears in his eyes were not of weakness, but of a newfound strength, a dawning clarity. He turned to his stunned guards, and in a voice that rang with a new kind of authority, one born not of power, but of purpose, he declared, "From this day forward, no one in my land shall sleep hungry. No one shall be punished without mercy. And before every judgment is passed, it will be my heart that decides, not merely my laws." From that day on, the people of the kingdom no longer called him the King of Justice. They gave him a new name, one spoken with warmth and affection, the King of Compassion. True to his vow, the king visited the beggar every single day. And upon the simple stone that marked his grave, the king himself carved an epitaph for all to see. "Here lies the blind man who gave sight to a king." They say that King Riazudin ruled for many more years, and the light of compassion in his eyes never dimmed. But the flame that burned brightest was the one he had rekindled in his own heart. The story serves as a timeless reminder that true kingship is not found in ruling over people, but in ruling one's own heart with love, mercy, and genuine justice. For when the heart can truly see, even a blind man can guide a king. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey today. If this story touched your heart, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more stories that inspire and uplift. Until next time, take care.